Welcome back, students. It's week 2. We're getting ready to kick off, really getting into the material in our textbook, and that means homework, that means reading. And so I just want to take a minute to go over your textbook with you. I realize some of y'all still do not have textbooks. Hopefully you'll be getting those today. But I wanted to go over the structure of the textbook for students, parents, so that you can kind of have an idea of what to expect and how to best use this tool. All right, let's take a look what we have here. If you'll turn in your book to page 4, it'll give you an idea of how each chapter in our textbook starts. So each chapter starts with an introduction, okay? And it, along with introducing the basic concept of the chapter, it outlines briefly 4 key issues. Now, each chapter is laid out with 4 key issues or 4 sections, and we're going to be spending time on 2 per week. So essentially, we're going to complete 1 chapter every 2 weeks. That's the goal. Obviously, this week we're a little bit short. We had Monday off, so we've got to make up time, and we'll do that. But I wanted to show you real quick. Let me grab this camera and switch it around if I can. All right, so each chapter, like I said, has a key issue, 4 key issues. The first key issue for chapter 1 says, how do geographers describe where things are? Okay, so this is our key issue question, our essential question that we're going to be trying to answer. And as we go through the textbook, it'll explain that we use maps and what are contemporary mapping tools like. So we'll talk about GPS, GIS, and those systems that give us digital mapping. Okay. Throughout the textbook, as you finish each key issue, a good place to look are these yellow call-out boxes. Okay, it says check-in. Okay, and on here it has 2 checks for understanding. So if you can read those and understand what those are saying, that will help. That's a good place to look to make sure you understand what you're reading. But the questions that the key issues ask, if you can answer those, that's also a very good check for understanding. Okay, so chapter 1 goes from key issue 1 goes from page 4 to page 13. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to be reading. You need to probably have that finished tonight. And then key issue 2 ends on page 19, so that one's really short. So depending on the topic, it might be a couple very long key issues, or it could be relatively short and easy. So essentially, you have 15 pages to read this week. Not bad at all, okay? But besides that, if you'll turn to the end of chapter 1, I'll show you where we're getting our vocabulary terms. Okay, so the vocabulary terms are throughout the textbook, throughout the reading, but at the end of each chapter, you have these yellow sections that say key terms, and you'll notice, and you always need to flip the pages and look to make sure that you're viewing all of them for the chapter. There's a whole lot of vocabulary words in chapter 1. Okay, so what do we do with vocabulary words? I suggest index cards. That's not a requirement to use index cards, but it is a requirement to write the vocabulary words. Vocabulary words will be checked on Friday, the last Friday of the chapter, which also happens to be test day. So not this coming Friday, but next Friday will be our first chapter test. I'm going to look to see what that date would be. That would be September 7th. So on September 7th, I will be checking for vocabulary cards while you're working on your test. And the way that I do that to make it easier for me is I choose 5 random words. You pull them out or you underline them in your vocab list that you have written on a sheet of notebook paper, and I call you up and check those. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But again, start reading your textbook and on the same pages that you have your vocabulary words. Parents, okay, if you are wanting to help out your students and you need a place to look, this is the place to go, okay? Each chapter has the 4 key issues, but each key issue is broken down into several different learning outcomes, okay? Key issue 1 has 4 learning outcomes. So you can simply ask your child these questions. Explain differences between early maps and contemporary maps. Describe the role of map scale and projections in map making. Explain how latitude and longitude are used to locate points on Earth's surface. And identify contemporary analytic tools, including remote sensing, GPS, and GIS. Real straightforward, but it's an excellent place to start. And if you're not, I hope you're not going to read the textbook along with your students, but if you are, bless you. But this is a great place where you can go and look at some pointed questions, and it gives you the answer too. So it takes some of the pressure off of you. So students, get started reading your book. Get your book if you don't have it already. And I've got one last thing to show you before this video gets incredibly long. Each week, students are going to be getting a copy of what we call reading guides, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a guided reading. So as you read, rather than taking notes on a blank piece of paper without direction, these are questions. And you'll see that there's things like maps, there's tables to help you compare and to organize information, basically to help you understand and break down the text that you're reading. Every Friday, well, the first Friday, so this Friday you're going to have a reading quiz, and the reading quiz is open notes. It's timed, but it's open notes. That means you can use this. You can use lecture notes, you can use vocabulary cards if you've done them, anything that you've prepared. You cannot use your textbook, you can't use something that you've pulled off the internet, but anything that you've prepared as you're studying, you can use on the quiz. So this Friday we'll have one. Next Friday is the test, so that means Thursday will be the reading quiz. We will have covered all the information that you need to know for that quiz prior to the quiz. All right, thanks for watching, and get reading.